Um, I'm kind of off to the side. Hold on. Trying to soak it up. It's been a it's been a day. Let me just put it that way. First I have kid toys everywhere. I had an ice cream last night and had some chocolate chips in it. Don't think chocolate chips are very I taste it. I think it's very free, but it's not. All right, so I need to go get a couple things from outside, so give me just a minute. My potatoes are outside. I'll get hooked up to Facebook and we will get started. We are making black bean burgers and potatoes today. Now, if you went and took my suggestion from the description, you know what I'm talking about when I say potatoes and why I'm putting them in quotes. If you did not take my suggestion, wait. It's about to get really good in here. It's one of those recipes that they're kind of funky. They really are. You look at the recipe and you're like, how can this taste good? Seriously, how can it taste good? But I'm telling you, it is worth trying. So let me get over here to Facebook. I'll go get my potatoes. This makes it fun. Knowing that I have a fun little surprise for you guys really does, it makes it fun. All right, so we got Facebook up so I can see who's talking and all that. All right, let me go get potatoes. I'll be right back. All right. Dumped in the recipe. Potatoes. I'm telling you guys, you're gonna like this. All right. Look at that. All right. Being personalized is hard to come by. Hard to come by the good stuff. Let me just put it away. All right. So we're gonna put air fryer at 400. Okay. You do not need an air fryer oven. Okay? You can do this in a regular standard air fryer. Not gonna make any difference. Okay. So let's do this. First and foremost, you have two ways you can make these radishes. You take a bunch, which is what the recipe calls for, chop them all up, clean them, or we go the lazy route. This cooking show, we go the lazy route, remember? So, cutting board, and then we'll get started. So we're going to do the radishes first because they're going to take some time to cook. So because of that, that actually gives us a chance to make our black bean burgers. All right, so the radishes. Now, as you can see, they still need a little cleaning up. So I'm going to rinse them real quick and we're going to clean them up and pop them in. It's all ready for our stove. All right. This part of the way. Cool. The parts clean. For wonderful potatoes. We call it radish potatoes. I think we should call them. It's radish potatoes. What do you think? All right. So here's the thing with this recipe. Like I know you're probably, some of you are looking at me like, seriously, you've got to be kidding me. They taste like red potatoes, you guys. All right, so I'm gonna cut them in half. Let's cut off the bottoms. And we have. And we are going to shake some stuff over them. Sorry, I've been talking to toddlers all day. And then we're going to put them in the oven. And in about 20 minutes, we have some yummy, crispy potatoes. All right, let's see. The monitor just went off. That means the boys are being very, very, very quiet. A little scary. Toddler's quiet. Especially, there it goes. Okay. Especially toddlers who are getting more and more energetic. Now you can tell in these bags, see how they've cut that off. I have an issue with that, and I just cut it anyway. Even if it's just a little sliver, I'll cut it off. Because I don't know, it's weird. Kind of like the fact that like I have fresh ends, I guess. Now here's the thing with this recipe is if you prep everything right, it really shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes to eat. And I know we're going to talk through this, but we legit should be finished in about half an hour. The boys don't usually eat till about 6, so we'll have dinner ready for them half an hour early. Not too bad, huh? And if you're watching this and prepping dinner, then that means you get to eat in half an hour. All right. This is definitely one of those fun recipes that I like to surprise people with. It's a keto recipe. And with keto, the whole goal is, no grains, no carbs, things like that. But there's some strategy to it. It's not all no vegetable. We could not survive on no vegetable. So the people who do practice a keto lifestyle have found recipes like this, which for those of us with food issues, and I mean even those of us without food issues, these are some fun things. All right, so that beeping means our oven's ready. What we need to do here, and these to the side. So we need 3 garlic cloves, which we're going to use handy dandy garlic, Parmesan, and it says Italian seasoning blend. Since I am using Old Bay in my burgers, I'm going to use Old Bay in my potatoes. The deal with the radishes is you do need some sort of flavor in them. And as such, you want to make sure it's in there. Yes, Parmesan and Old Bay are going to make it a little salty, so you want to make sure that you don't use too much if your seasoning blend has salt in it. So just heads up. If you use Italian seasoning blend, just like the recipe, it's not a big deal. You basically take that Italian dressing or Italian seasoning, and when you want a different flavor, you swap it out. There's a recipe blend called it's good shit, special shit, chicken shit, something else. It's really good. I mean, oh, it's so good. All right, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to shave over. And I always use this just because you want smaller, kind of zest size grapes. Um, we don't have, let's back up. I have not found a grated Parmesan, the powder, vegan that I've actually liked. So this is how I do it. All right, so we got a quarter cup of that. Garlic. And make sure if you're using this jar, you're draining the liquid. Okay. All right. So we got the garlic. Seasoning blend. So what you want is 2 teaspoons of the seasoning blend. So basically, shake it over. Light coating usually means 2 teaspoons. So see, barely see it. And from here, you're going to drizzle some olive oil over it and mix it up. And you have 2 options. You can use your hands or you can use utensils. I like to use my hands. Olive oil. For purposes of what we are about to do with the burgers, I am probably just going to go ahead and take a utensil, but see this? So everything's kind of piled up there. So what you need to do is make sure this is getting onto every single radish. Okay? You want the Parmesan on every radish. You want the garlic on every radish. You want the olive oil on every radish. You want the seasoning on every radish. All right. So on every radish, it is coated completely. All right. So here's what it looks like. So now what we do with this is we put it inside the air fryer. Now typically it should take about 5 to 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes max. In a normal air fryer, what you want to do is you actually want to wait 5 minutes, take the basket out, shake it, and put the basket back in. That's the trick to getting crispy fries and things like that out of your air fryer. All right. These guys go in a single layer. If you have an oven like this, you put a single layer. And you're going to get crisp. Okay? In about 10 minutes. That's right. So, black bean burgers. All right, so now with the black bean burgers, what we need is we actually need the food processor. Put all this stuff to the side. So, with black bean burgers, the recipe calls for a can of black beans, right? And you want to drain the can because you want black beans, but not get rid of the juice. I found this out one day and have made sure to keep the juice every single time. So, oh, I forgot a couple seasonings. Hold on, I'm gonna keep talking. So when make your like I did with the trick is well, this is going to be an interesting one. I told you, wild cooking in here. All right. We're going to heat that up a little bit. We're going to use the burner over here on the stove for this. Hmm. Smoky in there. Okay. So here's the deal with the black beans. We're going to drain it. We're going to hold the liquid because what happens is the liquid actually helps you preserve your refried beans or bean burgers, things like that. You can reconstitute if you need some moisture. The deal with this recipe and with any bean burgers that you make, this is part of the reason I wanted to make it this week, is that you're gonna have to look at the texture because they get really particular. Vegan bean burgers, they can be they can be pretty feisty, you guys. And what you want is you want to make sure you make the bean burgers so that you can very gently flip them. But if they are too moist or too dry, you're not going to be able to do that. So that's going to be an eyeball thing. Okay, so you always want to make sure you have more breadcrumbs and you save the black bean juice. Okay. Oh, you know what's missing? My tray on the bottom. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. You know how an oven like this? Make sure, seriously, make sure no matter what, you have one of these underneath your stuff. Kind of a fall, like one of those fallacies where it's great to have this air fryer oven, really great, but you need to make sure you cook things well inside of it. And by cooking things well, that means making sure you're taking care of your oven. And I don't know why maybe it got taken out. But it explains why my air fryer is so smoky right now. All right, so we're just gonna have smoky radishes. Not really, that wasn't really my plan, but you know, Brian and the boys like smoky. I'm not a fan. I know I live in Texas, but no thank you. You guys can have all your smoked meat. Okay, so you're gonna wanna drain it really well. All right, so we're gonna take the liquid and we're just gonna put it to the side. Okay, and we're gonna load up the food processor. And I love using a food processor for this. Mostly because it's much easier to get everything mixed in. So put your black beans in there. Especially like you have nuts that go in this. If you have issues with nuts, you don't have to use them. The alternative to using nuts is basically just more breadcrumbs, or you can use, you know, like nutritional yeast. Panko crumbs work really well. These are just regular breadcrumbs. All right, so we need 2 tablespoons of cayenne. Just bought these because I ran out, I realized a couple days ago. Smoked paprika, cumin, our walnuts, garlic, and an onion chopped. Now, have the onion. I'm using, oh no, that's minced garlic. So I guess I am using the onion. I was going to use onion powder. All right, so there you go. Now, you can make this hotter, spicier, by putting more cayenne in, or I've done this with ancho chili powder. Oh my gosh, that is good. It's so good. I've put taco seasoning in this, and this is the base recipe. I literally follow this recipe, and then I put whatever other seasonings I want into it in. So if you haven't tried your own taco seasonings, you should try it. Oh, those are cooking so much better now. Yay for no smoke. My goodness gracious. So for those of you that don't know, when I was 20, that's when I think I moved. But when I was 20, my best friend at the time and I were trying to make French fries, and I was heading over to her house. Walked in to her kitchen, just from the garage. Walked into the kitchen like normal, right? And I thought water was boiling. It wasn't water. It was oil. And I walked past, walked into the kitchen, walked into the living room, turned around, kitchen's on fire. It's not laughable, but like I remember the panic in her eyes. I remember hearing the panic and seeing the panic in her eyes and my eyes, and oh, you guys. So, long story short, the kitchen was gone. Like we're gonna need these mince garlic. Anyway, here we go. All right. Kitchen was gone. A very old family hutch was almost destroyed. And now, anytime there is smoke, 29 years later, I still panic. All right, so cumin. Cumin gives you meaty flavor in vegan dishes. All right, and I don't know. All right, so it's gonna get loud in here for a minute. All right, come on. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay. It's like the universe knows that. Oh, let's just. You can use this, right? Let's do that real quick. I just got here with this story about the kitchen. And I think once we finish mixing this up, that our radishes will be done. So we want half a sweet onion chopped up. Check the skin. So we're going to do this old school style or homeschool style. I don't know, whatever that is. All right, so I like these as tiny as absolutely possible. And yes, I know it's going in food processor, but so here's another thing you can do with this recipe. And I always forget to mention, and wrote it down on my notes, so I mention it because it's actually a really cool trick. So have you ever bought burgers from the freezer, the vegan burgers from the freezer, and there's like chunks of onions and peppers and corn, things like that? You can do that. You can do that with this recipe. You can swap out the black beans for like lentils. You can swap out, not swap out, but you can add vegetables, because effectively what you're doing is you're putting this stuff into the food processor and you're checking out to make sure that the moisture is the way that it needs to be. Okay, and I will show you what I mean in just a second. You want it to be moist enough that it's going to be moist when you eat it, but firm enough that it's not going to fall apart every time you pick it up. All right, so let's get this onions in here. All right, now we got all our ingredients. Check out those radishes one more time. My husband's always saying, "Why don't you just put a timer on?" Because I'm not very good at remembering. I'm really good at looking at time. I'm not really good at looking at time. All right, you guys. Gonna get out of here. You want to pulse this. Usually it's 8 to 10 times, but we'll see where that goes, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. That's 10. Here we go. So these are okay mixed. They need to be a little bit more mixed, so we're going to pulse it, let's say 5 more times. Lock it in. Okay, so if you look, see how it's kind of firm? You can touch it, but it's not sticking in my finger. That's what you want. It means that it's going to stay together. This burger recipe took a while. Now, what I've got right now is it's going to feel a little chunky when you touch it. Up, it's just going to feel that way. But I probably shouldn't do that, huh? But it's the exact right density, texture that we need to stay on the pan. So let's check the radishes again. Oh, yes. Okay, guys, radishes are done. All right, we're gonna find this one. Ooh, our radishes. And then we're gonna switch over and come over to the oven, or to the stove top. Looks like my light is out over the stove, so hopefully it won't be killed. I didn't realize that I was coming here or walking into the kitchen. All of a sudden, right. Now, these radishes are, I have heard stories about people trying to trick other people. Here's the thing, cauliflower will always taste like cauliflower. Flavor will be muted in these, but it really does taste a lot more like bread radishes, if that makes sense. Kind of unique little twist. Alright. So, it's done. And get your radishes. See how they're all crispy? See that? A little bit of ketchup to perfect. Oh, all right. So here's what I do with this: is I go straight over to the oven or to the stove top. I got my olive oil. Yes, I am cooking on a flat top, but these are bean burgers. I'm using my olive oil. So give me just a sec to put this over here, and this will. I will switch you over so you can join me. How's that sound? All right. So now we didn't need the bean burger juice or bean juice, which yay, good for that. All right, so here we go. There we go. All right, so the only thing you should be seeing right now is your soap. All right, here's how we are going to do this. A little bit of oil. Okay. So, what I do, I actually take a soup. Okay, that's about a quarter cup. This recipe, right in your hand, you're going to make a bean burger, or you're going to make a burger patty. Okay. Now smooth it out. This recipe takes, it makes about 4 to 5 burgers, depending on how big you want them. This spoon gives me about a quarter cup. Pulling it out. As you can probably tell, I'll stick with this. But once it's on the flat top, it's okay. Um, what I was about to say is I used to make this with eggs. I noticed that I actually could pull them off easier without the eggs. So if you are diehard, have to have eggs in your burger, by all means. You got to do what you are most comfortable with. So we actually have enough for 5 burgers. So put 4th burger in. Yeah. And we'll get our 5th burger in here. Oh, we have to have a little bit of a little bit bigger. You're going to let them cook for about 2 to 4 minutes on each side. Black beans are really easy to cook and make burgers because you always know when they're done. They change color. There's your 5. Let me go wash my hands because this is what they look like. You know what? All right, so here's the thing when you start these. You want to make sure to use a very flat spatula, something like this, or this. Here's why. Getting underneath, okay? I'm going to be very, very, very gentle. That's why. You'll kind of bunch this together. And I've had times where I've had to do this. It's vegan burgers are vegan burgers. And, you know, it's not like your regular meat burgers. They stay together and they're good. Okay, so let me show you something. I just realized I put those 2 a little too early. So if you see the difference between the burgers, so we put these 3 on first and we put these 2 on. This one was flipped a little too early, so I'll flip that back over and give these a couple minutes, and then they're done. That's it. You have dinner. I take my black bean burgers, I put them on a bun. I actually use thin buns, so let me get those thin buns, and we'll put a plate together. How about it? Yeah, this is your standard dinner plate. This is a lunch plate. My trick for making sure I'm eating enough calories but not overeating, I use the lunch plate. I use dinner plate to pull things like this off of. So, but I use a lunch plate to eat off of because if I use the lunch plate, yeah, see how that's not quite done yet. So we're gonna give it a few more minutes. If I use the lunch plate, I don't put as much onto my plate, and that's the trick. Just don't put enough. You don't put a lot. So with the radishes, these are vegetables. You never are. You can throw cheese on these. Jack cheese is really good right now. You got a couple of good burgers. Lay our burger out. Alright, so just like this is the so let's follow your heart. Effectively, it's potato powder. And what you don't want to do is mistake vegan cheese for a protein you normally would with dairy. Dairy actually counts as a protein, doesn't count as carbohydrate or fat or anything like that. It does count as fat. But ultimately, when I'm looking at a meal plan or another nutritionist dietitian is, we are looking at dairy as an actual protein source. All right. And oh, haha. That's how you can tell it's a good burger. Goes into your things and it does not fall apart. Yes. I love when bean burgers come together because, oh my gosh, you guys, first couple that we did. Ooh. And I will tell you, Brian and I will put these together. And we used to do this a lot before the boys, and we got out of the habit, is we would just once a month, we would take 2 cans, use 2 cans of black beans, 2 cans of just straight up black beans. Makes 10 burgers. Put some parchment paper in between each one, and now you've got 10 burgers. I'll show you like a real burger. So ketchup. See how it's kind of melting? This cheese does a really good job of melting around the burger. Once that's melted, we'll get it over here. You are done. All right, so we're going to let this continue to melt over here. Okay. Now let's come back to our table. Back just a little bit. I'm going to move you back for a second. So just heads up. Okay. All right. So here's our burgers. These are going to continue to melt. This is the one I'm going to put on here. And yes, I can pick it up with my hand. See? Now you have a burger and potatoes. Put your vegetables on top. I put tomatoes on top. I put avocado on top. I put lettuce on top. I really deck mine out with those, and then I put a little bit more ketchup or some mayo. So you know that mayo ketchup flavor that so many people enjoy. That tastes really good with this recipe. So like I said before, your whatever seasonings you use, that's the flavor that's going to come out of this food. So dinner, what do you say? As always, if you have questions, let me know. I will chat with you guys later. As always.